the Polaroid I-2. This camera was released 2 years ago now, and it's definitely had its ups and downs.
This is only the fourth photo I've taken, and it's jammed.
And also its firmware updates. And I've shot a lot of photos with it all over the country, and also, I guess, the world. I took it on a 2-week Japan trip.
We're going to Japan.
Banger photos, crispy shots, served me well. Oh, which I miss Japan. Please take me back. But it hasn't always been peaches and cream with this camera. It's had its downsides for sure.
The other photo's probably ruined too. The one underneath it. And now the counter is off because I had to fire it twice. That means it won't fire. Actually, yeah, no, I can't even shoot the last photo because once it hits 0 on the counter, it thinks there's no film left in it. So I won't be able to actually finish this pack off. That's fun.
Now, most recently, I did a 4-day camera challenge. 96 hours, 2 cities, 1 Comic-Con, and 1 camera. Yeah, I only used the I-2 for 4 days straight. And you can watch that video, link is in the description. The results were interesting, enough for me to want to talk about. I would say overall, they were awesome, but I noticed it did struggle a little bit indoors, which Polaroid should shine in those environments because Polaroid really markets these cameras to take pictures of moments which happen indoors. But this isn't me complaining about the camera and it being bad, because the journey of the I-2 is actually a positive one. When Polaroid first released this camera, it was, remember, $600, plastic camera, non-removable battery. That's still a complaint that I have to this day, and I think a lot of you can agree with that. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of cheddar cheese. You drop it, it's pretty much toast. But I'm digressing from the actual point. The journey of it came out, it was okay. It had some issues. It did overexpose your shots, but Polaroid addressed this since. And overall, I still give this camera a high rating. I do recommend it. So I've done lots of videos on this camera, obviously, over the years. When it first came out, I've done full in-depth real-world reviews. So this is more of an update after 2 years, where I've actually done even more crazy in-depth testing with it. And there's just been more things I've learned with this camera, and I just want to talk about them. I mean, this camera is marketed towards, I guess, the professional, since it has a higher than normal consumer price tag on it. Even though like low-end entry-level consumer cameras, they kind of start at like $600, $700. But if you factor in the fact that each photo you take with this camera does cost you money, and most consumers are not going to be buying this camera with that thought in mind, this is considered the high-end professional camera. So most recently on that 96-hour little camera challenge, I've noticed something. I rarely hand this camera off to somebody to take a picture with it. But at Rose City Comic-Con, I did that with multiple people for a few different reasons. One, I was wearing a costume and I wanted a picture of me in my costume. And these are the results. Now, the person that took this has shot instant photography before with my other cameras. They're not an instant photographer per se, but they've actually taken some excellent shots. And they've come out blurry. Another example is I handed this camera to take a picture of me and Stephen Ogg. You know him, Trevor from Grand Theft Auto, as well as Walking Dead. He was a really cool guy, by the way. Highly recommend meeting him if you get a chance. Now, I like this photo a lot, but if you look at it, it is slightly blurry, and I was using the flash, or more accurately, the person was using the flash. I'm noticing that this camera is not great to hand off to somebody that doesn't know how to shoot instant photography, because if you look at my photos, they're not blurry at all. There could be a few factors for that. But here's another interesting example. This photo is of me and Doug Jones. Doug is amazing. You might know him as Billy from Hocus Pocus, or the Baron Athanas from What We Do in the Shadows.
I seem to remember him having genitals.
Silence! But look at this photo. It's perfect. It's not blurry, it's sharp, and it's with a flash. This photo was not shot with the I-2. This was shot with an SX70 camera, and I gave that camera to a stranger that has never shot instant photography before. And that camera is a little bit more tricky, a little bit more advanced. It's an SLR camera, and I have the autofocus SX70. If you give that camera to a newbie and they look through it, it's gonna be blurry. But yet this person was able to get a perfect shot. Now, I have a few theories as to why the I-2 might not be best to hand off to somebody to take a picture. And I think it's just the overall design of the camera. If you look at the front of the camera, you'll notice that the shutter button is right next to the flash. And I've noticed handfuls of times when I give this camera to somebody and take a picture, their hand position, they cover the flash up while they're taking the shot. Heck, I did that myself with this photo of the Master Chef, aka the Master Chef. Now, that won't account for the blurry pictures because the shutter is fixed to the flash. The flash doesn't go off, the shutter's still gonna think it went off, and you'll still get a sharp picture. It'll just be a dark photo, like this one of the MasterChef. And like this one, even though it's still a good exposure, but it's a little dark because the person that took this picture had their finger like half over the flash. Now, the i2 has a feature that's pretty cool, but maybe it's causing some of these blurry images. And that feature, in layman's terms, is when you take your shot, the flash goes off, but the shutter stays open. And the reason for that is to get a more evenly exposed photo. You get the background exposed and your subject. Now, normally you have to go into the app and kind of do manual settings to get that feature, but I'm wondering if the i2 does that in lower light situations. For instance, indoors automatically, which in my opinion, I don't like, because if your hand holding a camera with the shutter open, that's when camera shake comes into play and you get photos like this. Yes, these kind of blurry shots. Now, I don't know for sure if that's the case, just a theory. The other thing that I personally have to double check every single time before I take my picture is the exposure compensation dial. And it could be bumped when you're handing it off, which could be the cause of these slightly blurry pictures, because those issues very well could just be from inexperience of the stranger shooting with the camera. So I do make sure to tell people just in general, when I hand them the camera, when you press the button, don't move until the photo is ejecting. But when you take it outside and you're updated to the latest firmware, you get stellar pictures. I get some great stuff with this. Heck, some of my favorite photos that I have ever shot have been shot with the i2. Though the flash, it's not very powerful. For some reason, they shrunk it down, especially if you compare it to the One-Step 2. The One-Step 2 flash is extremely powerful. I love that camera. However, you can't connect the i2 to the app. By default, the flash isn't set to full power. You can actually increase the power a little bit within the app. And if you close the app, the camera should stay with the last settings that were set. Now, this can be eliminated completely if you want to connect your own flash to it. It does have a flash sync port on the back. I do have one of these that one of you sent me in the PO box. This is actually from an unaired mail time video that I need to put out soon. But they make cases for Polaroid Go and the i2. They even stuck a cold shoe on it so you can connect your flash and walk around with it. It's pretty cool. I'll have their Instagram and Etsy store linked in the description below. The last thing I've recently learned with this camera, which was while I was in Japan trying to shoot through windows. You can't, but you actually can. And I got this wrong in my original review back when this camera came out. It could have been a later update to the camera, but if you want to shoot through a window, it's pretty simple. You hold down the shutter button, move the dial to the right, and it goes into infinity mode, which is really cool. Kind of a hidden feature. I have lost track how many photos I've actually shot with this camera. Hundreds and hundreds of photos with this, and though it didn't start out great, but I'm happy that Polaroid has addressed some of our concerns and issues, and they've made this camera better than when it came out 2 years ago. I have been thoroughly enjoying shooting with this. It isn't perfect, it is expensive, but it really is the all-in-one best Polaroid camera you can buy. Because I haven't even mentioned this yet, it has manual control. Yeah, all in the camera. You can change your aperture, your shutter speed. One of the things I would love to see added to this camera though is a removable battery. And I think I know why they didn't do this, because then Polaroid would have to produce these batteries. It would probably just cost them a lot more money to do this, instead of just using probably just some generic Chinese battery that's easily obtainable. The other thing I would love to see added to this, since we're on that topic, is a cold shoe mount. Some way to mount a flash. It does have a port for a flash sync. Give us a way to mount our flash. But other than that, this camera is pretty solid, and it has the option to shoot every single film type Polaroid makes, except for Polaroid Go, for obvious reasons. So if you've been curious about this camera and are thinking of picking one up and you have the budget for it, I'd say yes, snatch this thing up. It is a pretty nice camera. Though, if you do want some manual control features, consider the Polaroid Now Plus Gen 3 only. Let me say that again. The Polaroid Now Plus Gen 3 only. Do not get the 1 or the 2. Those are absolute trash. The Gen 3, they finally fixed all the issues. You can connect to your phone and, get manual controls just like the i2 for a fraction of the cost. Just depends on a little bit of your budget and what you're looking to get out of your pictures. Though I will say the i2 does do a better job than the Now Plus. What do you guys think? Do you have one? Do you love it? Do you struggle with it? Did you buy it? Return it? Does it collect dust on the shelf? Let me know in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation. But until next time, get out there and make some art.